Most people, when they think about attracting others, imagine strategies, how to speak, how to dress, how to impress. They think in terms of charm, wit, or appearance. Yet the Stoics understood that the deepest kind of attraction is not manufactured but lived. Positive people, those who embody kindness, wisdom, and strength, are not drawn to noise or vanity, but to character. What we are speaks louder than what we perform. In this sense, your habits are magnets. They pull the good toward you or they repel them. And often, it is not the obvious gestures, but the surprising, subtle habits that shape the circle around you. Marcus Aurelius never wrote about networking or popularity, but his light attracted loyal generals, philosophers, and friends who admired his quiet strength. In his meditations, he wrote, "Today I shall meet meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial people," because his daily habits radiated integrity. He rose early with discipline, treated servants with respect, spoke modestly, and endured hardship without complaint. These simple habits created an atmosphere in which positive people could thrive. It was not manipulation, but magnetism, the silent pull of virtue. Seneca, in his letters, often spoke of friendship as a natural attraction of the virtuous. He warned against chasing people for status or pleasure. Instead, he urged Lucilius to cultivate inner strength and wisdom. "He who is virtuous is sufficient unto himself," he wrote, "yet he still desires friends, not to fill his emptiness, but to share his fullness." This is a surprising truth. Positive people are not attracted to neediness, but to sufficiency. A person who is whole in himself becomes a source of warmth for others. Need repels, wholeness attracts. Epictetus took it further. He told his students not to seek admiration, but to seek alignment with reason. "Do not wish to be admired," he said, "but to be free." Paradoxically, the one who does not chase admiration often receives it. The habit of independence, the refusal to cling, makes one magnetic. Positive people are drawn to those who walk steadily on their own feet, for they recognize strength in them. Why is this magnetism so surprising? Because the world teaches the opposite. We are told to sell ourselves, to seek attention, to be louder, brighter, and more visible. Yet such noise often attracts the shallow and repels the wise. Positive people are not looking for performance, but for presence. They are drawn to steadiness, not spectacle. To live stoically is to cultivate this presence, often without realizing it. The Stoics would argue that every habit sends a signal. Complaining sends a signal. Gratitude sends a signal. Vanity sends a signal. Humility sends a signal. Self-indulgence sends a signal. Discipline sends a signal. These signals are invisible invitations. Negative people flock to those who share their bitterness. Positive people gather around those who share their strength. You do not choose who is drawn to you, but you choose the habits that broadcast your character. Consider the image of a fire. A small flame attracts little notice, but a steady, warm fire draws people close, not because it calls out, but because it radiates. Habits are your fire. If you cultivate patience, kindness, courage, and honesty, you radiate a warmth that positive people cannot ignore. They come not because you advertised, but because you embodied. This is why Stoicism insists that you work on your inner life before worrying about your outer circle. The right people gather when the right habits are lived. This truth is even clearer when inverted. Think of those who constantly complain, gossip, or manipulate. Who gathers around them? Not wise and uplifting friends, but others who share the same negativity. Habits create ecosystems. You cannot expect to attract strong, positive people if your habits radiate bitterness. Conversely, you cannot help but attract them if your habits radiate virtue. The circle you long for begins not with strategies, but with habits. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, reminded himself to live simply and humbly. He did not boast of victories or wealth. Instead, He practiced habits of restraint, patience, and justice. The result was not isolation, but connection. People of substance were drawn to him, while flatterers and sycophants were kept at bay. This is another surprising fact. Habits not only attract but filter. They do not simply bring people close, they determine who remains. Positive people feel safe in the presence of steady virtue. Negative people feel exposed and often flee. In our modern age, this lesson is urgent. Many people complain about toxic environments and shallow relationships, yet they rarely examine their own habits. Do they radiate gratitude or entitlement? Do they embody calmness or chaos? Do they lead with integrity or compromise? The Stoics remind us that like attracts like. Virtue calls to virtue. By changing your habits, you change your circle. So, what are these surprising habits? They are not the obvious tricks of charisma, but the deeper practices of character. A habit of gratitude that refuses to complain. A habit of silence that listens before speaking. A habit of moderation that resists excess. A habit of patience that does not retaliate. A habit of courage that stands firm in difficulty. A habit of honesty that does not flatter. A habit of consistency that makes others feel safe. These are not flashy, but they are magnetic. In solitude, you cultivate them. Alone, you practice gratitude in your journal, patience in your reflections, honesty in your conscience. Then, without effort, you radiate them in public. Positive people recognize them, like travelers recognize a lighthouse. They gravitate toward the light, not because it asks, but because it shines. The Stoics would summarize it simply: focus on becoming good, and good people will come. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make you better, and welcome those you can improve." But this association does not begin with choosing others, it begins with choosing yourself. If your habits embody wisdom, you will attract wisdom. If your habits embody noise, you will attract noise. Gratitude for critics, patience in insult, courage in hardship. These very habits, practiced silently, draw those who value them. Therefore, the first surprising truth is this: you do not attract positive people by seeking them, but by becoming the kind of person they seek. You need not advertise, manipulate, or pursue. You need only cultivate habits that align with virtue. The right people will recognize the signal. The wrong people will fade away. Your circle is not found. It is formed, shaped by the habits you embody each day. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. For when you are one, positive people will not need convincing, they will come." If there is one habit that defines the difference between people who uplift and people who drain, it is this: gratitude versus complaint. Complaining is easy, natural, almost instinctive. From the weather to work, from neighbors to politics, there is always something to criticize. And yet, as the Stoics remind us, complaining achieves nothing except poisoning the mind. Gratitude, by contrast, is harder, quieter, but infinitely more powerful. It changes not only how we see life, but also who chooses to walk beside us. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by hardships that would make most modern complaints seem trivial, urged himself to thank the universe each day. "When you arise in the morning," he wrote, "think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This was not naive optimism. Marcus faced war, betrayal, illness, and loss. Yet his habit of gratitude gave him strength. More importantly, it radiated strength. Those who served him could sense his steadiness. Positive people are drawn to gratitude like plants to sunlight. It nourishes them. Seneca, too, warned against complaint. He observed that those who constantly grumble about fortune waste their lives twice, once by suffering misfortune and again by rehearsing it in words. Gratitude, on the other hand, multiplies joy. "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor," he wrote. By practicing gratitude, you reveal richness, even in scarcity. And what kind of people are drawn to that richness? Not the bitter or resentful, but the generous and uplifting. Gratitude is a magnet that repels the toxic and attracts the noble. Epictetus was perhaps the most direct. Born a slave, crippled by his master, he had every reason to complain. Yet he insisted that the key to freedom was to accept what is given with gratitude. Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy. This radical acceptance transformed his life. His gratitude for reality as it was drew students from across the empire, eager to learn from his serenity. He attracted positive people because his habit of gratitude created an atmosphere where bitterness had no air to breathe. Why does gratitude attract positive people? Because gratitude is the language of abundance, while complaint is the language of scarcity. Complainers drain. They enter a room and suck the air with negativity. Gratitude, by contrast, energizes. A grateful person can acknowledge hardship without being defined by it. They can smile at small blessings, endure with dignity, and share hope without pretending life is easy. Positive people recognize this energy instantly. They are drawn to it because it strengthens them too. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, you meet someone who constantly lists problems. Traffic was bad, the weather is awful, people are stupid, life is unfair. Even if you sympathize, you feel heavier in their presence. Their words spread weight. In the second scenario, you meet someone who acknowledges challenges but also says, "At least I got home safely." The rain makes the air fresh. This mistake taught me something. Life is not easy, but it is good. Without denying reality, they highlight gratitude. Their words lift. You feel lighter, calmer, even inspired. Which person would you choose as a companion? Complaint repels. The Stoics remind us that gratitude is not noisy. It is not about posting quotes or shouting positivity. It is practiced quietly, internally, in how you interpret events. A Stoic may face loss and still whisper thanks, not for the pain itself, but for the chance to practice endurance. A Stoic may face insult and whisper thanks, not for the cruelty, but for the chance to practice patience. This silent gratitude creates a subtle radiance. Positive people sense it. They recognize someone who does not infect them with bitterness, but steadies them with calmness. This habit is surprising because most people assume attraction comes from display grand gestures, loud confidence, dramatic charisma. Yet in reality, one of the deepest magnets is quiet gratitude. Those who embody it do not need to advertise. Their presence itself is advertisement enough. Gratitude shows in their tone, their patience, their ability to smile even in storms. Positive people want to be near such presence, for it confirms that joy is possible even in difficulty. There is also a filtering effect. Complainers attract complainers. They form circles of negativity, feeding on each other's bitterness. Gratitude attracts the opposite. When you practice it daily, those who thrive on gossip and complaint will feel out of place and drift away. Those who value peace, growth, and strength will remain. In this way, gratitude not only attracts positive people, it also purifies your circle. Practicing this habit is simple but demanding. Each morning, like Marcus, remind yourself it is a privilege to live. Each night, like Seneca, review the day and note not only errors but blessings. In moments of hardship, like Epictetus, remind yourself, this too is a gift, for it trains me. These practices rewire perception. Slowly, complaint fades, gratitude grows, and your atmosphere changes. Positive people feel it, and they come. Modern science even echoes this Stoic insight. Studies show that gratitude reduces stress, improves health, and strengthens relationships. But the Stoics knew it long ago. Gratitude aligns us with reality, complaint rebels against it. One builds peace, the other breeds misery. And peace, once embodied, is magnetic. So the first surprising habit that attracts positive people is not charm or eloquence, but gratitude. Quiet, steady, daily gratitude. It requires no performance, only presence. And those who practice it, the Stoics assure us, will never lack for noble companions. For virtue attracts virtue, and gratitude is one of its brightest lights. In a world saturated with noise, the rarest and most attractive habit is silence. The kind of silence that listens, understands, and respects. Most people speak not to communicate, but to dominate. They interrupt, boast, complain, and fill the air with words that reveal more insecurity than wisdom. Yet the Stoics, with their deep reverence for self-mastery, taught that silence is a discipline and listening is a virtue. Those who practice this surprising habit naturally attract positive people because they offer something rare, the gift of presence. Marcus Aurelius urged himself often to be more like the man who is open to correction, not the one who is eager to talk. His meditations reveal a leader who valued listening above speaking, a man who sought to understand rather than to impress. Even as emperor, with legions of men ready to flatter him, Marcus reminded himself that silence was strength. Positive people are drawn to those who listen, because listening shows humility, respect, and genuine interest. Seneca, in his letters, criticized those who filled conversations with endless chatter. He noted that people who talk excessively rarely think deeply. True wisdom, he argued, prefers fewer words spoken with weight over many words spoken without care. It is better to be silent and be thought-wise, he wrote, than to speak and remove all doubt. This is a surprising form of attraction. The one who listens more than he speaks often leaves others feeling heard, understood, and valued. Such a presence becomes magnetic. Epictetus went further. He warned his students not to waste words on trivialities. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, he said. His point was not self-degradation, but humility. A student who listens, learns. A student who boasts remains ignorant. This attitude attracts positive people because it shows an openness to growth. Those who cling to constant speech repel the wise. Those who embrace silence invite them. Why does attentive listening attract positive people? Because listening is rare and people crave it. Most walk through life surrounded by voices that seek to dominate. To meet someone who pauses, reflects, and genuinely listens is to encounter relief. Positive people who value growth and truth recognize in such silence a strength they can trust. It is not weakness, but confidence. The confidence to let others speak without fear of being overshadowed. Reflective silence also creates space for wisdom. The Stoics believed that the mind cannot absorb when it is always pouring out. Just as a cup must be emptied before it can be refilled, so must we hold silence to receive insight. A person who listens well attracts others because they become reservoirs of thought, not fountains of noise. People feel calmer around them, more focused, more themselves. Silence has this magnetic power. Consider two conversations. In the first, your companion interrupts constantly, rushing to tell stories about themselves, turning every point back to their achievements. You leave feeling exhausted, perhaps even invisible. In the second, your companion listens attentively. They ask thoughtful questions, pause before responding, and reflect your words back with care. You leave feeling understood, valued, perhaps even lighter. Which companion would you seek again? The difference is not knowledge or eloquence, but listening and silence. Positive people, in particular, are drawn to such presence because they too seek to grow. They know that relationships are not competitions of noise, but exchanges of insight. When they find someone who embodies reflective silence, they stay. This is why the Stoics, though often quiet, drew loyal circles. Their silence was not emptiness, but depth, and others sensed it. This habit is surprising because modern culture prizes expression. We are told to speak up, share constantly, broadcast opinions. Yet endless expression often dilutes meaning. The Stoics remind us that silence is not absence, but discipline. To listen deeply is to resist the ego's hunger for attention. To pause before speaking is to choose words with weight. To embrace reflective silence is to live deliberately. And positive people, sensitive to authenticity, are drawn to this discipline. Marcus Aurelius modeled this even in leadership. Surrounded by debates, councils, and military commands, he listened more than he spoke. His strength was not in shouting orders, but in considering carefully. Those who served him felt respected, even in disagreement. His listening made them better because it revealed that their voices mattered. This is the power of silence. It dignifies others. And those who are dignified in your presence will want to remain there. Seneca's approach was similar. He often paused in his letters to acknowledge that he was still learning, still listening to life. His humility made him magnetic. Students and friends were drawn not to his perfection, but to his willingness to grow. Listening, after all, is not only toward others, but toward oneself. Reflective silence creates space for self-examination, for hearing the inner voice, for noticing the subtle lessons of daily life. Positive people respect those who live with this attentiveness. Epictetus reminded his students that silence also protects against folly. Many are ruined, not by enemies, but by their own tongues, boasting, lying, gossiping, overpromising. The habit of silence shields you. Positive people are drawn to those who do not gossip, who do not spread poison, who guard their words. They recognize in such discipline a safe companion. Listening and silence are not merely attractive, they are trustworthy. So how do we cultivate this habit? Begin with restraint. Pause before speaking. Ask, is this necessary? Is this true? Is this kind? If not, remain silent. Practice attentive listening by focusing fully on the speaker, without rehearsing your response, without interrupting. Reflective silence can also be practiced in solitude, daily journaling, meditation, or even simple pauses during the day. These habits train the mind to value depth over noise. The effect is subtle but powerful. Over time, people feel calmer in your presence. They sense they are heard, not dismissed. They trust your words because they are few but thoughtful. They are drawn to your company, not for entertainment, but for presence. And in this way, you attract positive people without ever seeking them. In the end, the Stoics teach us that listening is not passive, but active, not weakness, but strength. To master silence is to master the ego. To listen is to honor truth more than your own voice. And those who live this way radiate a quiet magnetism. Positive people, attuned to authenticity, cannot help but be drawn to it. When people think of attraction, they often imagine extremes, the loudest voice, the most lavish display, the boldest personality. Yet, paradoxically, extremes repel as much as they impress. Excess exhausts. People may admire a flamboyant lifestyle for a moment, but they rarely trust it. What sustains attraction in the long term is not excess, but balance, not constant indulgence, but moderation. The Stoics, who placed moderation at the heart of virtue, knew that those who live with restraint and harmony become steady centers in a chaotic world. And it is precisely this steadiness that draws positive people close. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself repeatedly to avoid being stained by luxury. Though emperor, with access to every pleasure imaginable, he urged himself towards simplicity, plain food, simple clothing, little concern for comfort. His moderation was not about denying pleasure entirely, but about refusing to be enslaved by it. This refusal made him trustworthy. His friends and generals knew that he was not ruled by appetites. Positive people are attracted to such steadiness because moderation radiates reliability. Seneca, despite his wealth, echoed the same principle. He practiced voluntary poverty, living with minimal comforts at times, to remind himself that happiness did not depend on extravagance. "If you wish to be rich," he wrote, "do not add to your wealth, but subtract from your desire." Moderation, for Seneca, was not about deprivation, but freedom. The freedom to enjoy what one has without craving endlessly for more. Those who saw him living this way respected his self-control, even when they disagreed with his philosophy. Moderation is magnetic because it proves a person is not desperate for more, and desperation is repellent. Epictetus, who owned nothing and accepted his poverty with dignity, elevated moderation into a shield. He taught that those enslaved by excess, whether of food, drink, possessions, or praise, were never truly free. True confidence, he argued, comes from needing little, and this needlessness attracts. For people who radiate sufficiency inspire trust. They seem untouchable, independent, calm. Positive people want to be near those who do not drain, demand, or consume endlessly. Why does moderation attract? Because it creates stability. Excess, by definition, swings to extremes. Overeating leads to sickness, overindulgence leads to weakness, overconfidence leads to arrogance. Positive people sense this instability and avoid it. Moderation, by contrast, is balance. It does not boast, it does not collapse, it endures. A person who lives moderately can be trusted to remain steady in prosperity and adversity alike. That steadiness is rare, and rarity attracts. Imagine two companions. The first chases pleasure endlessly, expensive meals, constant parties, indulgence without rest. They shine for a moment, but eventually their energy exhausts you. Their appetite seems bottomless, and their need for stimulation becomes a burden. The second companion enjoys life with balance. Good food, but not gluttony. Laughter, but not frivolity. Ambition, but not obsession. They radiate calmness. You leave their presence feeling lighter, steadier, even strengthened. Which would you seek again? Positive people are drawn to the second, for moderation creates peace. The Stoics also knew that moderation extends beyond possessions. It includes speech, emotion, and ambition. Moderation in speech avoids gossip and exaggeration. Moderation in emotion avoids rage and despair. Moderation in ambition avoids vanity and greed. This holistic balance makes a person safe to be around. Positive people are drawn to those whose presence does not threaten to erupt, collapse, or consume. Moderation creates trust, and trust is magnetic. Modern culture, obsessed with extremes, has forgotten this. Social media celebrates excess, louder, flashier, bigger. Yet, beneath the surface, people grow tired of it. They seek calm voices, measured lives, balanced presences. This is why moderation surprises. It is countercultural. In a world of noise, the quiet balance of a Stoic becomes profoundly attractive. Marcus Aurelius demonstrated this moderation in leadership. While other emperors boasted in marble and conquest, Marcus remained humble. He balanced justice with mercy, authority with humanity. His moderation made him beloved not because he demanded admiration, but because he inspired trust. Those who served him knew that he was not a tyrant of extremes, but a steady guardian of the state. Positive people gravitate towards such moderation, for it offers safety in a world of volatility. Seneca's moderation is equally instructive. Though criticized for his wealth, he repeatedly emphasized restraint. He reminded himself and others that luxury was enjoyable but not necessary, and that the wise man is content in both abundance and scarcity. Those who understood his practice respected him, because moderation proves that a person is not corrupted by circumstance. To live the same way in plenty and in little is to embody true freedom. Epictetus, stripped of all excess by circumstance, embodied moderation perfectly. Owning little, he demonstrated that joy is possible without extravagance. His simplicity attracted students of all backgrounds, not because he dazzled them with wealth, but because he inspired them with freedom. His moderation proved that happiness depends on character, not possessions. And that truth is eternally attractive. So what does this habit look like in practice? It means eating to be nourished, not to be stuffed. It means working with ambition, but without desperation. It means resting without laziness, speaking without endless chatter, spending without waste. Moderation is not dullness, but harmony. It is the art of balance, and balance creates beauty. Positive people sense this beauty in action, and they are drawn to it. The surprising magnetism of moderation lies in its paradox. It attracts not by dazzling, but by calming. It does not overwhelm others, but makes them feel steady. In a stormy world, moderation is the anchor. And anchors attract ships not because they move, but because they hold. Therefore, the third surprising habit that attracts positive people is Stoic moderation. The habit of living without excess, of embracing balance, of showing through daily choices that peace comes not from having everything, but from needing little. Those who embody this habit radiate stability. And stability, the Stoics knew, is irresistible to the wise. Now some exciting news. Our channel now offers a members club. By joining it, you'll unlock exclusive benefits, deeper content dives, and personal insights. Join us on this journey, and let's build a meaningful life together. And I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better every day" so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. Few qualities are more magnetic than calmness under fire. Most people, when insulted, provoked, or contradicted, react impulsively. They raise their voices, defend their pride, or retaliate with anger. But the Stoics believe that true strength is shown not in striking back, but in remaining unshaken. Patience, firm, steady, deliberate, was for them a sign of mastery. And patience, especially in the face of provocation, draws positive people irresistibly. For it reveals a rare kind of courage, the courage to remain calm when others lose control. Marcus Aurelius began many of his meditations by reminding himself of the people he would meet: the meddling, the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful. He did not write this to prepare for battle, but to prepare for patience. His strength as a ruler lay not in crushing dissent, but in enduring it without being corrupted. He knew that anger was contagious, but so was calm. By practicing patience in the face of provocation, Marcus created an atmosphere in which his companions and soldiers felt steadied. Positive people are drawn to such leaders, because patience is a sign that one is governed by reason, not by impulse. Seneca offered similar wisdom. In his essay on anger, he described anger as a brief madness. To surrender to it is to surrender to chaos. Patience, by contrast, is the refusal to let external events dictate your inner state. He advised that when insulted, one should pause and reflect. Does the insult truly harm me, or does it only harm the speaker? More often than not, anger damages the one who carries it, not the one who provoked it. This ability to step back, to resist provocation, makes a person not only wise, but magnetic. Others sense that they are safe in the presence of someone who cannot be easily rattled. Epictetus trained his students ruthlessly in this discipline. He told them that when mocked, they should practice indifference. If someone speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself, but say, "He did not know my other faults, or he would not have mentioned only these." This paradoxical humor transformed provocation into freedom. The critic loses power when the target does not react. And those who witness such composure are drawn closer, inspired by the strength that patience reveals. Why does steadfast patience attract positive people? Because patience is rare, and its presence changes the atmosphere of any room. Most conversations escalate quickly. Arguments flare, egos clash, pride collides. But a patient person diffuses tension. They do not need to win every point or defend every slight. Their calmness creates safety, and safety is profoundly attractive. Positive people gravitate to such presences, for they know that in the storm of life, patience is the anchor. Imagine two leaders. The first, when challenged, lashes out, humiliates others, and demands obedience. He may command fear, but he never commands loyalty. His impatience repels positive people, for they cannot thrive in an environment ruled by ego. The second leader, when challenged, listens calmly, responds with clarity, and endures insult without retaliation. His patience steadies the group. Positive people flock to him, not because he demands it, but because he radiates strength that reassures. This is the magnetism of patience. Patience also reveals humility. To remain calm under provocation is to admit that others' words cannot define you. Only the insecure lash out. The secure remain steady. This humility attracts those who value substance over show. Positive people are not drawn to brashness or arrogance, they are drawn to dignity. And dignity is impossible without patience. Another reason patience attracts is that it transforms conflict into growth. A patient person does not avoid disagreement, but uses it as a chance to learn. They are not threatened by opposing voices, but curious. This openness creates harmony, even in argument. Positive people sense this openness and are drawn to it because it allows them to flourish without fear of constant battles. The Stoics themselves lived this habit daily. Marcus endured betrayals in his court without collapsing into rage. Seneca endured exile without bitterness. Epictetus endured mockery of his poverty and disability with humor. Their patience was not passive, but powerful. It was not weakness, but strength. Strength not to be mastered by anger, but to master it. Modern life gives us endless chances to practice this. Online, in traffic, at work, in families, we are provoked constantly. The instinct is always the same: react, defend, fight. But the Stoic discipline is to pause, to breathe, to remember that provocation reveals more about the provoker than about you. To remain patient is to remain free. And that freedom attracts positive people because it proves you are not enslaved by circumstance. Practicing this habit requires deliberate training. Begin by noticing the surge of irritation when provoked. Instead of reacting, step back. Ask, does this truly harm me? Or does it only harm their character? Often, you will see that the insult belongs to them, not to you. With practice, the pause becomes natural. Your patience becomes visible, and positive people, hungry for calm in a chaotic world, will be drawn to you. The surprising truth is that patience is not only attractive, it is transformative. A patient person does not simply repel negativity, they convert it. Their calmness diffuses anger, their steadiness cools rage, their dignity inspires restraint. In their presence, even the restless feel calmer. This is why patience is magnetic. It changes not only you, but those around you. So the fourth surprising habit that attracts positive people is steadfast patience in the face of provocation. It is the refusal to be ruled by insult, the strength to endure without retaliation, the courage to remain calm when others collapse. Positive people recognize this rare discipline and they draw near, not because you seek them, but because patience itself is a beacon. There are two extremes when it comes to truth: cowardice and brutality. Cowardice hides the truth out of fear of rejection, conflict, or discomfort. Brutality throws truth like a weapon, cutting others with arrogance and pride. Neither attracts positive people for long. Cowardice breeds distrust, while brutality breeds resentment. What draws people of wisdom and strength is a rare middle path, honesty without arrogance. The Stoics taught that truth must be spoken, but spoken with humility, compassion, and purpose. Those who embody this habit radiate trust, and trust is magnetic. Marcus Aurelius practiced this balance constantly. As emperor, he could have imposed his views harshly, silencing all opposition. Instead, he sought reasoned dialogue, guided by humility. He reminded himself, "If someone can prove me wrong, I shall gladly change, for I seek the truth by which no man was ever harmed." This is honesty without arrogance. It is the courage to speak truth, combined with the humility to accept correction. Such a habit attracts positive people because it creates safety. Here is someone who values truth over ego, clarity over dominance. Seneca warned of the dangers of both extremes. He criticized flatterers who hide truth to gain favor, calling them enemies in disguise. But he also warned against those who weaponize truth with cruelty, saying, "Truth should be spoken not harshly, but with kindness." For him, honesty without arrogance was a form of service, to correct when needed, to encourage when possible, and to avoid needless harm. Positive people are drawn to such balance because it combines integrity with compassion. Epictetus urged his students to value truth above appearance. But he also taught them not to parade knowledge arrogantly. "First learn the meaning of what you say," he warned, "and then speak." His emphasis was on clarity, not performance. An arrogant truth-teller seeks to elevate himself. An honest Stoic seeks to elevate others. The distinction is felt immediately. Positive people can sense when honesty comes from ego and when it comes from virtue. They are drawn to the latter. Why is honesty without arrogance so attractive? Because it creates trust. Trust is the foundation of all meaningful relationships. A person who lies cannot be trusted. A person who boasts cannot be trusted. But a person who speaks the truth with humility proves that they value integrity over image. Positive people are drawn to trust like travelers are drawn to light in the dark. They want to stand beside those whose words can be believed, whose promises carry weight, whose speech reflects their actions. Consider two conversations. In the first, someone flatters you constantly, agreeing with everything you say, hiding disagreement out of fear. At first, it feels pleasant, but over time, you feel uneasy. You cannot trust them because you know they will tell you only what you want to hear. In the second, someone disagrees with you kindly but firmly. They explain their reasoning with respect. They do not mock or belittle, but simply speak truth. Even if you resist, you respect them. Their words may sting, but they feel solid. Which companion will you choose? Positive people prefer the second, because honesty is the soil where trust grows. The Stoics also practiced honesty with themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote not for readers, but for his own correction. Seneca examined his conscience nightly, confessing his errors. Epictetus warned students to stop blaming others and admit their faults. This self-honesty spilled into their relationships. Those who are honest with themselves are less likely to deceive others. Positive people are drawn to such integrity because it signals authenticity. Yet honesty alone is not enough. It must be free from arrogance. A truth spoken with pride becomes poison. To say, "I am right and you are wrong," may contain truth, but its spirit divides. To say, "Let us examine this together," contains the same truth but invites growth. Arrogance turns honesty into dominance. Humility turns honesty into connection. This is why Stoic honesty is magnetic. It seeks harmony, not superiority. Honesty without arrogance also filters. Dishonest or manipulative people feel exposed in its presence and often drift away. Positive people, however, feel safe and strengthened. They know that even when they fail, they will not be flattered falsely or mocked cruelly. They will be corrected kindly, encouraged sincerely, and told the truth even when it hurts. This is the kind of environment where virtue grows. In modern life, honesty is rare. We live in an age of masks, social media personas, curated images, polite lies. Many fear that without flattery, they will lose friends, or that without arrogance, they will lose authority. Yet the Stoics prove the opposite. Authority without arrogance is stronger. Friendship without flattery is deeper. Attraction without manipulation is lasting. Honesty without arrogance may not draw crowds, but it draws the right people, the wise, the loyal, the positive. So how can we practice this habit? Begin with yourself. Each evening, like Seneca, examine your day. Where were you dishonest? Where were you arrogant? Confess privately, then correct. Next, practice honesty in small things. Do not exaggerate stories. Do not hide mistakes. Do not promise what you cannot deliver. Finally, when truth must be spoken, ask, am I speaking this to elevate myself or to serve the other? If the motive is ego, restrain it. If the motive is virtue, speak with humility. Over time, this practice creates an atmosphere of trust around you. People know they can rely on your words. They know you will not flatter them falsely or humiliate them arrogantly. They know that honesty in your presence is safe. Positive people are drawn to this atmosphere because it is so rare. It gives them courage to be honest too, and honesty, shared without arrogance, becomes the seed of lasting companionship. Thus, the fifth surprising habit that attracts positive people is honesty without arrogance. It is the courage to speak truth, the humility to accept correction, and the compassion to avoid needless harm. Those who embody this habit may not attract everyone, but they will attract the right ones. For positive people, seek not performance but integrity, not flattery but truth. And where honesty without arrogance shines, trust and attraction naturally follow. If there is one quality that positive people instinctively look for, it is safety. Not physical safety alone, but emotional and moral safety. The sense that the person beside them will not betray, collapse, or explode without warning. Many shine for a moment with brilliance, charm, or energy, but their glow is inconsistent, unreliable, unstable. Positive people may be entertained by such fireworks, but they cannot build with them. What they seek is not fireworks, but fire-steady, warm, reliable. And the Stoics taught that such reliability comes not from grand gestures, but from silent consistency in virtue. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to be like the rock against which the waves break. The image is striking. The rock does not boast, does not chase attention, does not change with every tide. It stands firm, silent, unshaken. Those around it draw strength from its stillness. This is the essence of consistency. Positive people are drawn not to those who dazzle today and disappoint tomorrow, but to those who remain steady day after day. Silent consistency is a magnet because it offers something rare in a restless world: trust. Seneca urged Lucilius to live in a way that made his character predictable, not predictable in dullness, but in virtue. Let your life, he wrote, be so consistent that at any moment it may be laid open to view. Consistency here meant alignment, that what you say matches what you do, and what you do today will still be true tomorrow. People who live with such harmony radiate trustworthiness. Positive people, hungry for companions they can rely on, are drawn to that harmony. Epictetus, training his students, hammered this point home with discipline. He told them not to declare themselves philosophers by words, but by consistent action. Don't explain your philosophy. Many can recite wisdom in one moment and betray it in the next. Few live it daily, silently, predictably. This embodiment is consistency. And consistency is what separates the pretender from the master, the entertainer from the guide, the unstable from the steady. Why does consistency attract positive people? Because consistency creates security. An inconsistent person, quick to rage, quick to flatter, quick to break promises, cannot be trusted. Positive people do not want to waste energy guessing which version of someone they will meet today. They long for companions whose character is stable, who are predictable not in mediocrity, but in integrity. Silent consistency says, you can count on me to be myself, regardless of circumstance. That assurance is profoundly attractive. Think of two types of friends. The first is exciting, spontaneous, dazzling, but unreliable. Sometimes they are supportive, sometimes dismissive, sometimes honest, sometimes deceitful, sometimes kind, sometimes cruel. You never know which version will appear. The second is quieter but steady. You know their word means something. You know their temper will not suddenly erupt. You know their values will hold firm under pressure. Which do you seek in difficult times? Positive people always choose the second, for silent consistency is a refuge in chaos. The Stoics saw consistency not as rigidity but as alignment with nature. To be consistent was to live according to reason, to embody virtue regardless of circumstance. Marcus Aurelius faced war, plague, betrayal, yet he strove to remain the same man, just, patient, humble. His constancy earned respect because it proved that his virtue was not conditional. Seneca practiced consistency by reviewing his actions nightly, ensuring that his life aligned with his principles. Epictetus taught consistency by stripping life of excuses, insisting that every moment is a chance to live philosophy, not merely to study it. This habit is surprising because it is so rare. Many can be good occasionally, but few can be good consistently. Many can act with integrity when watched, but few can embody it daily in silence. Positive people, who seek not performance but authenticity, sense this difference immediately. They may admire brilliance, but they trust consistency. And trust is the deeper form of attraction. Consistency also creates influence. People may ignore occasional wisdom, but they cannot ignore a life lived steadily. Consistency proves that philosophy is not theory, but reality. It inspires without words. Positive people are drawn to such influence because it is reliable, humble, and enduring. A consistent life becomes a lighthouse, not by noise, but by steady shining. How can we practice this habit? First, by aligning words with actions. Do not promise what you will not deliver. Do not declare virtues you will not embody. Second, by building routines that reinforce character, daily reflection, journaling, acts of service. These routines create rhythm, and rhythm builds consistency. Third, by refusing to let external circumstances dictate internal principles. Whether praised or insulted, rich or poor, healthy or sick, remain yourself. This is the Stoic test of consistency, to be steady in all weathers. Consistency also requires humility. You will fail at times, but the key is to return. Do not excuse hypocrisy, correct it. Do not hide inconsistency, repair it. Over time, even imperfect consistency builds trust because people see the pattern of returning to virtue. Positive people do not seek perfection, they seek reliability. And reliability is born of the habit of returning again and again to what is right. The magnetic power of silent consistency lies in its quietness. It does not shout, "Look at me." It whispers, "You can trust me." And those who hear it, those who value truth, strength, and goodness, will be drawn close. Positive people, tired of volatility, seek anchors. And you, if you embody consistency, become that anchor. Thus, the sixth surprising habit that attracts positive people is silent consistency, the steady, humble, daily practice of living your values. It is not glamorous, but it is irresistible. For in a world of noise and instability, consistency shines as the rarest and most needed virtue. And those who embody it will never lack for noble companions. There are two kinds of courage that the world notices. The first is loud, dramatic, and filled with spectacle, the warrior shouting in battle, the leader making grand speeches, the hero who announces his bravery for all to see. The second is quieter, less visible, but infinitely more enduring, the man or woman who suffers without bitterness, who endures hardship with dignity, who refuses to collapse when the storm arrives. This second kind of courage is the Stoic kind, and it is this courage calm, steady, resilient, that attracts positive people, because it is both rare and deeply trustworthy. Marcus Aurelius faced plague, war, betrayal, and the constant awareness of mortality. Yet he did not fill his writings with boasts of his bravery. Instead, his meditations reveal a man reminding himself to stand firm, to act justly, to endure with patience. "You have power over your mind," he wrote, "not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His courage was not in controlling fate, but in mastering himself. Those around him could sense this strength. Soldiers, advisors, and even enemies respected him because he embodied calmness in crisis. This quiet courage drew positive people because it reassured them that even in chaos, there was stability. Seneca, too, displayed this courage. Exiled, accused, and eventually sentenced to death, he met each trial with composure. He admitted fear and pain, but he refused despair. "A good character, once established, cannot be dislodged by fortune," he wrote. His courage lay not in avoiding suffering, but in facing it with serenity. His friends admired him, his students followed him, and even his critics could not ignore his calm dignity. This is why courage attracts. It proves that virtue does not collapse when tested. Epictetus perhaps embodied this most vividly. Born a slave, crippled by his master, he could have lived in bitterness. Instead, he chose freedom of the mind. "No man is free who is not master of himself," he taught. His courage was not in overcoming slavery, but in transcending it. Students flocked to him, not because he conquered empires, but because he conquered despair. His courage inspired hope. If a crippled ex-slave could live with joy, then anyone could. This is the magnetic power of quiet courage. Why does this courage attract positive people? Because courage creates trust. When life collapses, most collapse with it. To find someone who remains calm, who does not surrender to panic, who continues to act with integrity, this is to find a rare refuge. Positive people recognize such courage and draw near, because it gives them strength too. Courage is contagious. A calm presence in crisis steadies all who witness it. Imagine a ship in a storm. One captain shouts, panics, and blames his crew. The other speaks calmly, steers steadily, and reassures his men. Both face the same waves, but which ship would you choose? Positive people always choose the calm captain, because his courage makes survival more likely. In the same way, life's storms test us all. Those who remain steady attract companions who value endurance, dignity, and hope. Quiet courage also filters companions. Those who thrive on chaos, gossip, and weakness cannot remain near someone who endures with dignity. They feel exposed, diminished, even threatened. But those who seek growth are drawn closer, inspired by example. Your calm courage becomes their compass. And without effort, you gather people who value what you embody. The Stoics understood that courage is not about fearlessness, but about response. Everyone feels fear. Courage is acting rightly despite it. Marcus Aurelius confessed his weariness, but chose duty anyway. Seneca admitted his dread, but met death calmly. Epictetus knew pain, but chose freedom of mind. Their courage was not loud, but steady. And that steadiness is what attracted students, friends, and admirers across centuries. Modern life, though less filled with gladiators and emperors, still demands courage. Illness, loss, rejection, failure. These are our battles. Many collapse under them, spreading bitterness. But those who meet adversity with quiet courage radiate hope. People sense in them a reminder life may wound, but it cannot conquer the soul. This is why courage is magnetic. It shows others that endurance is possible. How do we practice this habit? Begin with small adversities. When delayed in traffic, remain calm. When insulted, remain steady. When plans fail, adapt without bitterness. These are rehearsals for greater storms. Next, prepare mentally for inevitable hardships, as the Stoics did. Marcus wrote daily reminders of death and loss, not to despair, but to practice acceptance. Seneca advised rehearsing poverty so that wealth would not enslave. Epictetus trained students to imagine exile, chains, or insult so that when they came, they would not break. This preparation turns adversity into expected training, not shocking catastrophe. Over time, courage becomes visible. They see you endure calmly where others rage. They see you remain kind where others grow cruel. They see you hope where others despair. And without effort, you attract positive people who value this courage. They want to be near someone who does not collapse, because it reminds them of their own capacity to endure. The surprising truth is that courage is the most attractive habit of all, because it creates hope. Gratitude, silence, moderation, patience, honesty, and consistency all matter. But courage proves them in fire. Courage shows that these virtues are not fragile, but resilient. Courage inspires others to rise above fear, to face storms with dignity, to trust that even in adversity, life can be lived nobly. Positive people are drawn to this, not because it entertains them, but because it strengthens them. Thus, the seventh surprising habit that attracts positive people is quiet courage in the face of adversity. It is not about loud declarations, but steady presence. It is not about absence of fear, but mastery of it. It is the calm that reassures, the strength that inspires, the dignity that endures. Live this way, and you will find that positive people gather, not because you chase them, but because your courage gives them hope. As Marcus wrote, the mind that is calm is not pulled by fear, nor shaken by desire, nor broken by pain. It stands strong, and all things are drawn to it. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day. This daily gratitude can take many forms. At night, like Seneca, you may reflect, what did my critics reveal today? Did they expose impatience, pride, or fear? Did they show me where I still cling to reputation? Did they reveal a strength I had overlooked? Each reflection transforms the sting into wisdom. In the morning, like Marcus, you may prepare, today I will meet criticism. Some of it will be fair, some unfair. Either way, it will train me. Let me meet it with calmness, humility, and gratitude. And throughout the day, like Epictetus, you may remind yourself, their opinion is theirs, not mine. My peace belongs to me. Gratitude for critics is, in truth, gratitude for life itself. For life is full of resistance, opposition, and difficulty. To thank critics daily is to rehearse the broader Stoic art, turning every obstacle into opportunity. The critic is just one form of obstacle. To despise them is to despise the forge in which strength is made. To thank them is to embrace the forge, to welcome the fire, to see in every spark the shaping of your soul. The world today gives us critics in abundance. Online, in workplaces, in families, voices rise against us, sometimes fair, often not. We cannot silence them all, nor should we, for they are part of nature's training ground. Each insult, each harsh judgment, each mocking word is another weight to lift, another lesson to learn, another mirror to study. To live stoically is not to escape them, but to use them. And once you learn to use them, you no longer fear them. So let this be the closing reflection. Thank your critics every day. Thank them for showing you your flaws before they ruin you. Thank them for training your patience before life's harsher blows arrive. Thank them for breaking your vanity before it consumes you. Thank them for testing your freedom from opinion before death itself strips everything away. Thank them, because without them, you would remain untested, unrefined, unfinished. And as Marcus Aurelius wrote, be like the rock against which the waves break and it stands firm, while the raging of the sea falls still around it. Critics are the whales. They crash, they foam, they roar. But you, if you practice gratitude, humility, and virtue, will stand like the rock, unmoved, even thankful for the waves that polish your strength. To live this way is to live free. To thank your critics is to thank life for every test. And that is the essence of Stoicism. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.